Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3892BN. Today's date is April 27th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Obama's Tricks No Longer Work. How do you lure a violent animal into a trap? Game theory. All right, this is one of those things I didn't expect to like as much as I do, but it's patriotic, so I'm sharing it because it's kind of fun and you guys might like it too. It's called the Limited Edition Brave Wings Eagle Memorial Wreath, created in celebration of America's 250th Freedom Anniversary. That's right, in case anyone needs a reminder, it's America's 250th year of independence. There are many ways to show your patriotism, and this one that falls right in that middle ground where it stands out, but in a simple, classy way. You've got the eagle shape, the red, the white, the blue colors. It's got that classic American feel without screaming at you. We all want freedom. We all want an opportunity. We all want to live in a country we're proud of. And that's what this represents. It actually looks like a nice collector's item, not a throwaway decoration. To the men out there, let's be honest, the women in your life would love this. And good news for you, right now it's an extra 15% off using my link, themagaoffers.com/X22 Who doesn't love a discount? Not to mention 10% of every purchase goes to nonprofits supporting veterans and their families. Once again, the link is themagaoffers.com/X22 or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see they've been trying to stop Trump. Remember, he's an outsider. He's not part of the system. He was never part of the system, and he's coming for their system. And as he exposes and as he dismantles the system, they're panicking because the people are learning the truth. Once things are made transparent, once people learn the truth, there's nothing the deep state players can do. And you can see in the past, they tried everything. They tried the Russia collusion, the impeachments, the indictments. All they have left right now is an assassination attempt. And you could see that since they've lost their agencies, they're not able to control the narrative. They can't come out and say, hey, this was caused by this or that or the other thing, because they don't have control over the investigations. So what they have to do is they have to put out the narrative. They have to repeat the lie. They have to create the wrap up smear type of campaign. So if you have the D's kicking it off saying, you know, Trump is evil, he must be stopped. Then it goes to social media, and then you have shills and paid people on there repeating that information. And you also then have the fake news out there having discussions about it, and this keeps going around and around and around. You can create the narrative. You can actually move the needle. This is what they're doing. Now, remember, the D's, Obama, and the rest, they're sitting back allowing this to happen. Because again, when certain things should occur, they're going to say, hey, this should never happen. We're against it. This is how they play the entire thing. And if you notice, Obama's tricks where he controlled the narrative, he used to control the narrative, is not working anymore. Remember, going back to, let's say, the 2020 election, they told everyone there was no evidence of cheating. There was no evidence whatsoever. It's a gigantic lie created by Trump. Now we see the evidence. Now we see exactly what they did. Now there's investigations going on. Now with the latest shooting, we have Obama out there letting everyone know we really don't know the motivation of the shooter. Now, you have to remember, he's stuck in a period of time where they used to control the narrative. They had control of the FBI. They had control over social media. They had control over everything. So the information would not really be coming out. Yes, would there be conspiracies out there? Absolutely. But they could deal with that. Now, they don't have control over the DOJ. They don't have control over the FBI. They don't have control of what's being said because they don't have control over social media anymore. So what's happening is the information is hitting the airwaves. Oh, look, there's a manifesto. Well, let's put it out there. Remember, going back a little bit in time when Biden was in office, they hid the manifesto so they could come out and say, listen, we really don't know what the motivation of the shooter is. Because, again, they hid the manifesto. But this time around, the manifesto's out there, but Obama's still out there trying to convince everyone we don't know what the motivation is. His tricks no longer work. And now he's trapped in all of this. Because again, what is Trump doing? He's luring these violent animals into a trap. And you can see step by step, they're taking the bait. He's using game theory against these people. Remember going back in time when he discussed the chess game. He says, I'm playing a game of chess. And the players I'm playing against, some of them are nice, but they're very violent. Some are just violent, but they're very smart. And he's making moves to counter their moves. And every step of the way, he is gaining leverage. And what people are now seeing, they're starting to see who's responsible for all this. Because you have to remember, they don't control the flow of information. They don't control the agencies that are investigating all of this. They don't control any of this. So in the end, they're losing their narrative. Now, does this mean they're going to stop? No. They have to continually try to attack Trump. They have to try to get more and more people to go after him because this is all they have left. And once they lose the midterms, it's pretty much game over for them. So what does that really mean? It means they're going to go all out in trying to bring this country into a civil war, then a world war. This is their entire mission right now because once again, they have nothing left. Because Trump is dismantling the system, the different agencies, the different organizations, the different countries. He's dismantling it right in front of their eyes. So they will not have any ammunition to use against we the people because that's really what they're coming after. Remember, Trump is just standing in the way. If they remove Trump, let's say with an assassination, they're just going to come after the people. If they gain control of the House and Senate and they impeach Trump, they remove him, they're going to come after the people. That's what's really going to happen in the end. And you can see every step of the way, what is Trump doing? He's removing their ammunition. He's making sure they can never do harm to the people of this country. And I mean on a very big scale, having some type of false flag. Now, they will attempt to do so, but they're going to fail in the end. They are going to attempt to riot. They're going to attempt to say that Trump is the king. Now, think about what they're doing. They're creating the narrative. Remember, they released the Epstein files on purpose. They knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. They knew they could use the narrative that he's a pedo. And he doesn't want to release the Epstein files because he's a pedo. This is the narrative that they're using. I mean, we all know he's not, but this is what they're using for the crazy base that they have. If you notice, this is the narrative they keep repeating. Actually, when Trump was being interviewed with 60 Minutes, they read a line on purpose from the manifesto because they're signaling their foot soldiers. They're signaling those people that might be on the edge, but they want them to pull the trigger. When I mean pull the trigger, they want them to take the next step. Yes, they want him dead. Yes, they think he's Hitler. Yes, they think he's coming for them. They just want these people to go over the edge. This is why they use these things, because this is all they have left. But in the end, it's all going to fail just like everything else. We're going to be talking a lot more about what happened with the assassination and how they're trying to manipulate the people, because this is all they have. But first, let's start with ICE and let's start with the illegals, because we know in the end, the deep state players are going to use the illegals to create the riots, to create the chaos in this country. And yes, Trump is definitely prepared for this, because this is why he removed the worst of the worst. He knows there's more people, but he knows if he can get rid of the gang members, the terrorists, and everyone else, the others aren't going to be that much of a problem to round up in the end. And what's very interesting is that Alyssa had a suggestion for President Trump. She says, I want Trump to change ICE to NICE, National Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So the media has to say, nice agents all day, every day. Trump says, great idea, do it. President DJT. I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of weeks, all of a sudden, they are now called the NICE agents, National Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And can you imagine the fake news saying the NICE agents captured, and I'll just say American citizen, even though it's an illegal. I mean, people are just going to hear this and it's going to sound absolutely ridiculous. I think the change should be made as quickly as possible. Absolutely incredible. This is what you do. You use the deep state players and everything that they're doing against them. All the words, everything they do, just use it against them. Change it so they have to repeat certain things. Make them look like idiots every step of the way. And that's exactly what Trump is doing. I mean, look at Iran, for example. They said, oh, ground troops are going to come in. We're going to have World War III. He'll never be able to win. You just can't win against Iran with air power. It doesn't work. Well, you have to remember, that's what the deep state did. The deep state had regime change that way. The deep state worked that way. Trump, he doesn't work that way. Trump uses other methods. He applies pressure in different ways. And he's applying economic pressure on Iran. First of all, he had control of the strait all along. He only had to bomb Iran to remove their weapons so we could control the strait, so we could put the economic pressure on Iran. That's why he removed their weapons that was supplied to Iran by the deep state players. He wasn't going to bring the troops onto the mainland of Iran and have an all-out war. That'd be ridiculous. Why would we do that? Trump is very patient. We got plenty of time. The oil there doesn't affect the United States. We're energy independent. Yes, the prices went up because of fear, which is absolutely ridiculous. But again, we're still living in the deep state central bank world. And all he had to do is remove their weapons, remove their navy, remove their missiles, remove the ability for them to create new weapons, stop the shipments from coming into Iran. Now, they've got nothing. Trump, all he has to do is park the Navy outside of the strait and say, you can pass, you can. You're not allowed to go to the Iranian ports, but you can go everywhere else. Trump has complete and utter control. He shut down their money-making system. Now they're sweating. Now they're panicking. And they're worried about what's going to happen next. Now, they're trying to pretend that they're in control. They're trying to say, here's a new deal. And Trump just has to say, nope, that's not what I want. Nope. You know what I want. Good luck, everyone. We're fine here. All our leaders are fine. We have all our ships. We have pretty much the entire Air Force. We have the Navy. We have everything. You got nothing. All your leaders are killed. You got a couple left. If I want to eliminate them anytime I want, I can. You have no weapons whatsoever. You make a lot of threats, but you haven't done a damn thing because you got nothing left. All you have is the pressure from Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the deep state players. And I'm just going to wait that out. Let's see who wins. Because again, the people eventually are going to get so angry, so pissed off. Because they're going to say, just hand over the dust. Who cares? We don't need it. Why are you letting us all starve? Trump has all the leverage here. And you could see out in Iran, they're actually burning their own oil. Massive flares and thick black smoke over Khuzestan is now happening because, again, Trump has blocked the exports. So what do they have to do? They have to burn the oil because if they shut down production, the entire country loses out. Trump knows this. And this is why he put the pressure on them. And think about it. All those ships that used to go to the strait, they're just changing direction. They're now coming to the United States and filling up their oil. We have become the gas station of the world now. Eric Doherty put this out and said, USA-made crude oil just surged to Japan and the local population loves it. Japan is buying American oil. We're happy to supply it. Around 900,000 barrels arrived and came all the way from Texas, traversing the Panama Canal. President Trump wants to ensure we are the world's gas station. And think about what Trump has done. He's taken over the Panama Canal. When I say take over, he pushed China out of there because, again, that was number one. Then removed Maduro from Venezuela, so now China doesn't get the cheap oil. Now they have to pay market prices. Now, with Iran, they're not getting cheap oil from there. So now they have to pay market prices. Without the cheap oil, they can't manufacture. Without the cheap oil, they can't sell the products cheaply, which means their economy is in trouble, which means Trump has leverage over China, over Xi Jinping. Remember, China sits in the background. Think about what China has been responsible for. Poisoning America with drugs, fentanyl, and many others. And yes, the deep state players, they were all involved with this. They could have stopped it anytime they wanted, but they didn't. You know why? Because they were involved with it. The same thing with the drugs coming out of Venezuela. So Trump just shut it all down. The illegals coming into this country. Yes, they were assisting in all that. So think about what China's done. They were creating their system across the globe. They were making deals across the globe. They were actually assisting Iran. Trump has shut all of this down. Now he has the leverage over Xi Jinping. Remember, he's going to visit him in May. And now Iran is panicking. Do we still listen to Hillary? Do we still listen to Obama? Or do we make a deal? Now, I think they'll try to go to the very end, but I think what's going to happen is that the people are going to get so angry, so pissed off, that they're going to make a move on the entire regime. They will make the change in their country. And once that occurs, it's game over. Now, they might make a deal. I mean, I think they just submitted a deal, but I think if they're not handing over the nuclear dust and they don't say they won't ever make a nuclear weapon, I think that deal's off the table right there. Because what's the point of all this? If Trump's going to say, okay, you can have the nuclear weapon and you don't have to give us the dust, it makes no sense. Because remember, Trump is killing two birds with one stone. He's decentralizing the entire oil industry. He's putting pressure on China, and he wants the proof of what Hillary and Obama have done, where they had uranium-1 shipped to Iran and North Korea. And yes, documents are now being released to that effect, showing everyone they are responsible for all that. We'll be talking about that in just a sec. But first, think about this. The deep state players are so panicked because everything that they're trying to do is not working. Remember, it's all about control. It's about taking back control. They're losing control every step of the way. Remember, in Virginia, they just had a referendum. They thought they were going to be gaining all these seats. There's an injunction in place right now. And even if there isn't an injunction, you could see what happened in Florida. DeSantis right now is redistricting. Actually, in Texas just won a case there. So everything that they're trying to do is not working whatsoever. And think about what they're trying to do in Florida. Tony Saruga put this out and said, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are going all in on Florida right now. This race for Marco Rubio's former Senate seat is a special election, and special elections are unpredictable by nature. The normal rules don't apply. They are hell-bent on Alex Vindman, a Trump impeachment witness, winning Florida's 2026 U.S. Senate race. Now, I don't know any person in Florida that would actually vote for this. I'm not talking about the D's. So, again, Florida is red. DeSantis right now is redistricting. Do you think this guy has a chance? The only way he has a chance is cheating. But again, I do believe that Florida has very, very strict election laws right now, and this is going to become very, very difficult for them. So every step of the way, everything they're trying to do is going to fail. Remember, their entire mission right now is to try to get back control. If they can't get back the control, then they have to bring us to war. They have to create an event of all events. And I do believe this will probably start out with riots and maybe a cyber attack because, again, in the end, they need to push a distraction of all distractions. And the only distraction they have left is actually war, which means Trump, he's basically counting on all of this because he knows that this is the path that they're going to be going down. And he's using game theory to bring them down this path every step of the way. Now, let's talk about what happened at the White House correspondent dinner because we could see that this individual, he actually had a very good career. He was smart. He was going to have a good life. But again, he was brainwashed by the deep state players and he was pushed into doing something because, again, he was afraid. He didn't like where the country was going because of the fake news, the deep state players. And he thought he was doing the right thing in the end. We'll be discussing that in just a sec. But think about what Jimmy Kimmel said. He was doing a skit and he basically made fun of the First Lady and how she was going to be a widow. And Wokeness put this out and said, this is coming from Jimmy Kimmel, "Our First Lady is here. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow." So basically, he put this out there, and this is pretty darn bad. First Lady Melania Trump said, "Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. A coward. Kimmel hides behind ABC because he knows the network will keep running cover to protect him. Enough is enough. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community?" And again, he went a little bit further than normal because, again, he was saying that Trump was going to be assassinated by saying that. And that is hate, not just hate, but actually that is violence that he is now pushing out into the public realm. Trump responded to all of this and says, "Wow, Jimmy Kimmel, who is in no way funny as attested by his terrible television ratings, made a statement on his show that is really shocking. He showed a fake video of the First Lady Melania and her son Barron like they were actually sitting in a studio listening to him speak, which they weren't and never would be. He then stated, 'Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.' A day later, a lunatic tried to enter the ballroom of the White House correspondent dinner, loaded up with a shotgun, handgun, and many knives. He was there for a very obvious and sinister reason. I appreciate that so many people are incensed by Kimmel's despicable call to violence and normally would be responsive to anything that he said, but this is something far beyond the pale. Jimmy Kimmel should be immediately fired by Disney and ABC. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT." And yes, when you, as a comic and as someone on TV or speaking on social media, yeah, you can say a lot of things. But when you're telling people to be violent or you're pushing a narrative of violence where someone's going to be killed, you're entering into a different area. And I think he just entered that area, just like the fake news entered that area. And they're very, very careful in what they say. They use words like fascist or Nazi, and they're very, very careful in what they say. They use just enough to get people going. I mean, look at the fake news because they're complicit in all of this. Patriots Are Control put this out. Never forget that the media created these radical leftist shooters. ABC News, half Americans see Donald Trump as a fascist. NBC News, Kamala Harris calls Trump a fascist as she argues he's dangerous and unfit for office. The Atlantic, Donald Trump's fascist romp. Rolling Stone, Trump goes full fascist. Whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. New York Times, is Trump a fascist? This time, Mayor Adams dodges the question. So when you look at all these publications, they continually keep this up over and over and over. So the fake news puts this out, or maybe the D's start it, and then the fake news picks it up, or the fake news puts it out and the D's pick it up, and they repeat it over and over and over. So the fake news, let's say they put it out first, then the D's pick up the stories, and they repeat it. RNC Research put this out and said, no one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Trump. He is a fascist to his core. Your disgusting rhetoric is inciting these violent attacks on President Trump and his administration, the RNC says. Absolutely. And then think about Epstein. They pushed the Epstein very, very hard because they wanted to call Trump a pedophile. Because again, you could see they were trying to push the idea that he doesn't want to release the Epstein files. And they used this against President Trump, even though he had nothing to do with it. They just created a lie and they wanted the fake news to repeat it. They wanted it on social media to get people going. Elon Omar put this out and said the leader of the pedophile protection party is trying to deflect attention from his name being all over the Epstein files. At least in Somalia, they execute pedophiles, not elect them. So his name was all over the Epstein files because he's the one who reported Epstein. He was the one that actually had him arrested. So again, look what they did. This was very, very specific because now the word pedophile and rapist is floating around. The fake news can use it. Other Ds can use it. Now on social media, you have the brainwashed people reading all of this because remember, they're not looking any other place for information. They're stuck in the monkey house. They're just hearing the same things over and over and over. And then you have Hakeem Jeffries. Robbie Starbuck put this out. This is Democrat Hakeem Jeffries 4 days before a Democrat assassin tried to kill the entire Trump administration. Hakeem is the leader for all the Democrats in the House of Representatives. His message to Democrats was maximum warfare, everywhere, all the time, pure evil. And we even have people in government pushing this. Libs of TikTok put this out. Meet Michael Gilling, who works for FEMA, according to his Facebook and LinkedIn. He's complaining that the shooter failed to kill President Trump. This person is paid with your tax dollars. He must be fired immediately. Absolutely. And when you look at Blue Sky, this was a platform that was created by Jack Dorsey. He used to run Twitter, and then Elon, of course, bought Twitter. So he created Blue Sky, and guess what happened? All the crazies, all the left and the far left, went to this social media site. And all they do is talk about everything the fake news says, everything the D's say, and they're stuck in their monkey house. Bad Kitty Unleashed says, imagine a platform that has turned into exactly what the EU and UK accuses X of, but they couldn't be bothered. Proof that this is targeting of the political opposition. Also imagine how many foreign and domestic communists are pushing psychological operations at Blue Sky. It's a free-for-all and wasteland, and it's brewing homegrown terrorists as evidenced by the Trump assassination attempt. So yes, these people are on there. There's no checks and balances by the management of Blue Sky, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are foreign trolls there pushing the agenda. To do what? To get someone or multiple people to go after Trump. Now, let's go back a little bit in time. Remember Austin Tucker Martin? He was shot dead by Secret Service after breaching security at Mar-a-Lago because he wanted to kill President Trump. He called Trump a rapist and a pedo and was obsessed with Epstein list, just like Cole Allen. So once again, they are pushing these people to the brink, and they feel like if nobody's doing this, then I must do this. And when you look at the left wing, you can see, can I ask you something? Do you ever feel like your brain just doesn't shut up about food? Like you just ate and somehow you're already thinking about the next meal? Because that's me constantly. It was never even real hunger. It was just noise. And no matter how disciplined I tried to be, I always ended up caving. Then I saw this doctor recently talking about an exotic Mediterranean chocolate recipe. And it helps balance the signals in your body that drive those cravings. And yeah, I thought it sounded ridiculous at first. Chocolate for cravings. But the way he explained it, it actually made sense. It's about willpower. It's about what's going on inside your body. So he created a proprietary formula of 9 carefully selected ingredients to help support healthy weight and blood sugar and packed it into a little daily treat. So I thought, why not? There's a 180-day money-back guarantee, and why not try it? And that constant noise, it quickly started to quiet down. I wasn't thinking about food all day anymore. I'd eat and just feel done. No snacking out of nowhere, no late-night cravings. It just felt normal again. And yeah, I eventually noticed the physical changes, but honestly, that mental shift, that's what made the big difference. If you've been stuck in that same cycle, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're like me and you aren't into the whole GLP-1 trend, well, this could be worth a shot. You can check it out at tryleanbliss.com/PX22. Again, that's tryleanbliss.com/PX22. And I'll link it down below this video as well. Get ready to break the cycle and take back control. That people, more and more people, are talking about killing Trump. Clint Brown put this out and said, left-wing assassination culture is real. 56% of self-identified left-wing respondents justified murdering DJT in this study from April of 2025. I've been reluctant to share, don't want to normalize, but you need to see it. You need to understand that we have a real problem. There's a difference between thinking something is justified and doing it, but the normalization of the justification is a massive threat to society. This is what you're seeing, and it will only get worse. And yes, you're seeing this firsthand. You see, this is what the fake news does. They put this out there, and it goes around. Blue Sky, it goes on social media platforms. It goes on the fake news. The D's repeat it, and it goes around and around and around. And they make it worse and worse and worse as time goes on. And they try to push people into doing things. Cynical Publius explains, Cole Allen is the Dunning-Kruger assassin. Allen is not some random nutjob from the fringes of society. He's a very articulate graduate of Caltech, which means he has a high degree of native intelligence. He's in the education profession. He's on Blue Sky. He goes to No King's protests. He's your basic rank-and-file Democrat. But it's that high native intellect that led him astray. The Dunning-Kruger effect is, at its simplest level, people thinking that they know more than they do. People are high achievers in one area, often mistakenly believe their native abilities make them experts in all areas. So you get a super smart guy like Allen. He excels in one narrow area and extrapolates that excellence into thinking he knows more than he does in other areas. He goes into Blue Sky, he goes to No King's protests, and he's easily swayed into believing all the insane, violent lies those sorts of intellectual cesspools foster. All of a sudden, this computer science expert is a national political policy expert too, except that latter expertise is derived from insane propaganda. The man with the intellectual skill to write code is not smart enough to recognize when he himself has fallen prey to propaganda, so he knows that Trump is Hitler and must be stopped. And when you know that someone is Hitler, what's the right thing to do? That's what is so scary at this very moment. The sheer number of ostensibly educated Democrats who know so many things are true that are actually so very, very untrue. In many ways, Cole Allen is just an average Democrat. And like most average Democrats, he fell prey to credentialism and Dunning-Kruger. But Cole took it to the next level. Let's pray, more do not. And that is exactly what happens every single time. And the deep state players, the D's, they know this. But again, they can say, we never told anyone to do anything. We never said, this is what you must do. We just said he needs to be stopped. We didn't say kill to stop them. But they know exactly what they're doing. Remember, plausible deniability. And when you look at the polls and you see what's going on, you could see they've created so much hate against Trump. The fake news have actually covered Trump, and basically it's all negative coverage. Awaken Outlaw says, back in reality, 8% positive media coverage of Trump's first 100 days of his second term, similar to his first term. Obama-Biden enjoyed 60 to 61% positive coverage in their first 100 days. Obama 2008 campaign, only 5% negative coverage. So Trump has 92% negative coverage from the fake news. Think about that for a second. Think about those people that are still watching the fake news, MSNBC, CNN, and the rest. This is what they're hearing. Then they look at the Democratic Party. They hear the same thing. Then they go onto social media. They're hearing the same thing. See how this works? The Last Refuge put this out and said, and this is coming from David Plouffe, it is not enough to simply beat Trump. He must be destroyed thoroughly. His kind must not rise again. Think about that for a second. Now, Barack Obama came out and he said something very, very interesting. He said, although we don't have the details about the motives behind last night's shooting at the White House correspondent dinner, it's incumbent upon all of us to reject the idea that violence has any place in our democracy. It's also a sobering reminder of the courage and sacrifice that the U.S. Secret Service agents show every day. I am grateful to them and thankful that the agent who was shot is going to be okay. Now, once again, in the past, this would work. Because again, he would have control of the FBI. I'm going to talk about the deep state players. They would have control of the DOJ. They know the investigation is not going to go anywhere. And they would have control with the fake news and the narrative. Back when they were in control, they was also have control of social media. Today, it's very, very different. But if we break down what he said here, it's very, very interesting. Because again, he's saying there's no evidence whatsoever, even though there is. It's called a manifesto. But again, in the past, they were able to hold the manifesto back. This time around, they didn't. Like we said before, he mentioned the U.S. Secret Service. Now, I do believe that a lot of these agencies, these people were trained in a different way than we think. Just like the FBI, they were instructed to not go after criminals, but to protect the criminal syndicate. Same thing with the DOJ. And I do believe with the Secret Service, they were put in a place not actually to protect the outsider president, but they were trained in such a way that they wouldn't be able to do a good enough job to actually do the protection. I think this is why he mentioned this, which is very, very interesting. So once again, he's trying to use what he used in the past, and it's not working. So basically, he did this in 2020 election. Actually, the deep state players did this. They claimed there was no evidence when evidence actually existed. So in order for the political leftists to continue advancing an extreme and radical ideology, they must pretend not to know things. And this is what they do. Plausible deniability. We don't know. We have no evidence. We don't like violence. This is what they say on the outside, but behind the scenes, they're orchestrating all of this. And think about this. There's no evidence, and Moak has put this out. Teacher from California, by the way, he was Teacher of the Year. Think about that for a second. Donated to Kamala Harris, a member of Wide Awakes, attended a No Kings protest, rabid leftist post on Blue Sky, wrote an anti-Trump manifesto. Media, motive unknown at this time. This doesn't work anymore. It's completely and utterly falling apart. And then we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. Trump calls her Marjorie Traitor Brown or something like that. And it's very, very interesting how these people flip. If we go back in time and we go back to 2023, remember the Nashville school shooter? Well, she said this back then. The FBI has not released the Nashville school shooters manifesto. Reportedly, it would be too damaging to the trans agenda. Release the manifesto. America deserves to know the truth. Fast forward to what just happened today. She says, why does every shooter have a manifesto? Most shooter manifestos remain classified so they don't inspire more would-be shooters. Why did they release Cole Allen's manifesto almost immediately? Wait a minute. 1 minute you want it released. The next minute you're saying it shouldn't be released. Well, basically, it should be released because we need to expose it. People need to understand why this person did this. Where are they getting their information? Now think about it. The SPLC was to do what? It was to protect the violent left so no one would see that. They kept all eyes and made everyone believe that the right was violent, which we all know it was not. That's why they paid all the Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, and the rest. Carmen Sabia put this out and said, all I ever hear the media talk about is the right-wing violence. All I ever see are left-wing shooters. Absolutely. Remember when, and Elon says this, remember when Scott Adams says Republicans will be hunted? Well, this is what we're seeing. The deep state players now are becoming so desperate that they will start to hunt the Republicans, those people that are in charge. Those people that might talk out against the deep state players, these people might turn on these individuals. I mean, look at Nick Shirley. Look at the other people that are exposing the deep state players. Yes, they have to get extra security right now because they are being threatened. They will be hunted because anyone that exposes, anyone that talks about the deep state system and it brings it to light, yes, they see it as a threat. And we could see that Scott Adams, rest his soul, he was absolutely right. But I just want to read something from Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Cooper, USMC, because he said something that's very, very interesting. And since we see these crazies that are out there, I think this pretty much sums up who should be protecting you and what you should be doing. He says, if violent crime is to be curbed, it is only the intended victim who can do it. The felon does not fear the police, and he fears neither judge nor jury. Therefore, what he must be taught to fear is his victim. Absolutely. But you could see this is what the deep state players do not want. This is why they disarm. This is why they're trying to disarm the people. Because again, without you having a weapon, they don't fear you. If they don't fear the police, they don't fear the judge or the jury. You think they're going to fear you if you don't have a weapon? If they know you have a weapon and you have the right to carry, will they fear you? Yes, because they don't know if you're carrying that weapon. So yes, they're going to be afraid. Think about that for a second. Now, like we were saying yesterday, the security was very lax, and a lot of people now are reporting on the lax security. Bill Malugin put this out and said, "My thoughts on the security at the WHCD last night. The first exterior security for me was on the street outside of the hotel. I flashed my ticket, and I was waved through in 1 second. My name was not checked against any list. I showed no ID. I was not patted down and did not go through the metal detector. I probably could have shown a ticket from a prior year or a fake one, as they barely looked at it. I don't know who that exterior security was. They were guys in suits. From that point, I walked into the hotel with no further security checks. I walked down to the Fox pre-party, where there were multiple ballrooms that were absolutely packed with attendees. Still did not go through any security at that point. Hypothetically, if I hidden an explosive in my shoe or my jacket, I would have no problem getting into one of those ballrooms. Only once it was time to get into the main ballroom for the dinner did we pass through magnometers, empty your pockets, and get a pat down. And even that checkpoint was just outside of the dinner room. Two things can be true at the same time. Secret Service reacted quickly to an active armed threat and prevented that threat from getting into the ballroom. But the security leading up to that point, in my opinion, appeared to be lacking severely. And remember, this stuff that they set up, the metal detectors, you empty your pockets, these are for law-abiding citizens. Just like the background check for weapons. Do you think the criminal's going to come into the gun store and say, "Listen, I like to buy a gun. Yeah, I know I got to go through a back check. I know it's not going to work out, but I'm going to try." No, they get it on the street. They get it on the black market. So if a criminal was going to do harm to anyone and they were trying to bring a gun in, do you think they're going to put it on the conveyor belt? Do you think they're going to stand in line and just wait and say, "Gee, I hope I make it through"? Or are they going to use another way? Of course they're going to use another way. If you notice, the guy ran right through the metal detector. He didn't care, but he knew if he ran fast enough, because they're not paying attention, he would be able to get through. And that's exactly what happened. Greg Kelly says, "The most controversial political figure in history is in the room they are assigned to guard, and none of them spot the threat. The gunman, Red Arrow, is already in a sprint. All 5 blue arrows," and these the police, the Secret Service, and the rest, the security members in this photo, are looking in the wrong direction. Some are looking at their phones. And again, these people should have been standing in front. There actually should have been a metal barrier. They should have 2 officers standing there. Anyone that was approaching, they should have said, "Please wait. It's already the event is already happening. You must wait here for a sec, and then we'll escort you through the metal detector, and we'll make sure that you have nothing. Start emptying your pockets. Let what's in that bag." But again, that wasn't the case whatsoever. So you see, something is a little bit off. And this is not the first time. This has happened multiple times that we're starting to see this. So once again, I think this has to be completely and utterly revamped. Remember, who was in this event? It was pretty much the Trump administration. Kash Patel says the following. This is coming from Sergeant News Network. "This was almost the entirety of the president's cabinet, the president and vice president himself, and 2,000 members of the media. This is something the movies don't even write about." So once again, there were a lot of people in there. So if he opened fired, if he got that far and he opened fired, he would be able to take out a lot of Trump's cabinet and maybe Trump himself. So once again, we have a major problem in regards to the Secret Service and security. And again, this is a private venue because, again, this is not government. This is not the White House. This is very, very different. So I do believe that this needs to be revamped, just like the FBI, just like the DOJ, just like DHS, just like the CIA. I think it's time now. And what's very interesting is people are making a very big deal that J.D. Vance was escorted away before President Trump. Tony Saruga explains. In the first video below, which is going viral as people realize J.D. Vance was escorted away before President Trump and are asking why. In the second video below, President Trump explains the delay in his leaving the ballroom last night, saying he wanted to personally survey the situation. I wanted to see what was happening, and I wasn't making it that easy for Secret Service. I wanted to see what was going on. So basically, he wanted to say because he wanted to see what was happening. So once again, he made it a little bit difficult. But it looks like at this point, and Gunther Engelman put this out, that the Trump administration is now convening a major security meeting with the Secret Service, DHS, and White House operations to upgrade protection for all upcoming major Trump events after the latest assassination attempt. President Trump is ensuring there will be zero mistakes moving forward. No more Butler-style failures. No more complacency. Maximum security is the standard now. And it's not that difficult. You just need people always paying attention, ready to go. And there should be barriers because once the event occurs, everything should be shut down. Even when people are going through the checks, there should be layers that people have to go through. And I think that is going to be done at this point. But think about it. Trump went on 60 Minutes, and there were a couple things that were said there. And it looks like the deep state players, the fake news who are pushing a lot of this, they wanted a specific sentence read out so other lefties heard it. Because again, they're pushing their agenda. Nick Sorter put this out and said, President Trump just reamed a CBS reporter for reading off the WHCA manifesto, referring to admin officials as pedophiles. I am not a pedophile, Trump says. You read that crap from a sick person. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones who were involved with Epstein. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You are a disgrace. Go ahead. Let's finish the interview. So basically, what was the reason for Epstein? It was to push the pedo wording. Why did the reporter purposely read that part? Because she is setting the message out to the other lefties, Antifa. They're letting them know, push this as hard as you possibly can. Trump just called her out on it. He knew exactly what she was doing, and so did she. And this is why he reamed her. Now, the other thing we could see is that the reporter said the following. He had attended a No Kings protest in California. Trump says, no kings. Yeah, if I was a king, I wouldn't be dealing with you. That's why the whole no kings things is ridiculous. Do you really think if Trump was king, they actually have a no kings protest? They wouldn't be allowed. If he was a king, do you think any of these reporters would be reporting or would they be in jail? So that's why the whole no kings thing is a bunch of BS. And he's proving it, and Trump is proving it every single time. Jason Meister put this out and said, they arrested the president of the United States of America 4 times, charged him 91 times, indicted him 4 times, spied on his campaign, sabotaged his first term, jailed his supporters, raided his private residence, censored him, gagged him, tried to bankrupt him, and attempted to remove him from the state ballots. When all that failed, they tried to assassinate him, not once, but 4 times. And they go on national television to talk about how we need to vote for them to save democracy? Absolutely. Mike Davis says we must start mass arresting those who fund, organize, and perpetrate left-wing political violence. It's time to take off the kid gloves. And he's absolutely right. And it is definitely time. And you could see that that time is definitely coming. I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they're leading these people down this path. Again, he knows they're pushing this agenda. He wants the world to see it. He wants the people to see that they are behind all this because it's going to make a lot easier for the world to accept the roundup of all these people that are going to riot in the streets, that are going to burn down the cities, who are going to push their agenda. So once again, Trump now is basically leading the deep state players down this path, and they're following it, and they're doing exactly what he wants them to do. Now, does he want to be assassinated? Of course he doesn't. But he knows the deep state players are going to continually push this, and they're going to use this type of tactic. But in the end, when this tactic fails, they're going to move to the next level. And the next level is actually pushing the riots themselves, having the fake news push the riots. And we're going to definitely see this happen. And Trump is then going to take action. And this is why he told everyone that he could bring in the National Guard at any time. The National Guard can work with the military. He already set up the narrative, letting everyone know that this is completely and utterly possible. And think about it. If this was held in the ballroom, the White House is locked down. No one could even get near it. There was no way in the world he'd be able to get into the White House area with a weapon. It's completely and utterly impossible. And this is why presidents over a very long period of time, I think 150 years, they wanted a ballroom. Remember, at the Hilton, it's a private business. It's opened to anyone that's staying there. And they're not going to do a sweep of everyone's room. Think about it for a second. It's very, very dangerous if you really think about it. But look at the individual who's trying to stop the ballroom from being built. Representative Lauren Boebert put this out and said, did you know the reason a D.C. judge halted construction on the White House ballroom is that a lady who walks her dog by the White House complained it was ugly, and the judge granted her standing as a result? This judge sided with a liberal dog walker over national security. Absolutely. And that's exactly what was done here. And we could see that acting AG Todd Blanche, well, he says it's time to build the ballroom. He said enough is enough. He said this lawsuit is on behalf of a single person who walks in the vicinity of the White House once a month and expects to dislike the East Wing's new design. The passing aesthetic gripe of a single person cannot possibly justify delaying the construction of a secure facility for the president to do his job. And he's absolutely right. It's time to shut all of this down. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, the deep state players, what are they doing? They're just trying to delay it. They're just trying to make it difficult for President Trump. That's all they're doing at this point. And now you could see it's going to end. Just like everything else they tried to do. They tried to delay, but in the end, the Constitution, the rule of law, always wins. Now, we know that the deep state players, the Ds, the rhinos, they're all part of the same system. And it looks like the persistent Scott Presler, he is now calling out the rhinos, specifically one of them, Cornyn. He says, I will be releasing a video of Senator Cornyn saying that he wants to provide relief to 124,000 DACA recipients. I also have a video of Cornyn calling them undocumented as opposed to illegal aliens. One video a day until we defeat him on May 26th. And this is absolutely true because, once again, these people are part of the system. This is why they fight against Trump every step of the way. Are they truly Republican? No. They're Republican in name only. All you got to do is look at Liz Cheney and the rest. That should tell you everything you need to know. And yes, these people should be called out every step of the way. But when we look at Texas, we could see that Texas, the Republicans, they have now got themselves a victory. The Supreme Court reversed a federal district court's ruling that had blocked the state's new congressional redistricting map from taking effect. The ruling solidifies Texas' 2025 mid-decade redistricting plan, known as Plan C-2333, for use in the 2026 midterm election and beyond, clearing the way for what could give Republicans as many as 5 additional seats in Congress. So we have Texas doing this. We have Florida doing this right now. And Virginia right now, they have an injunction. So no matter what they try to do, and I'm talking about the Ds, the deep state players, it's not going to work whatsoever. Now, the other thing that's really interesting, and this has to do with Hillary Clinton, has to do with Obama, has to do with Uranium One. Margot Cleveland put this out and said, the FBI opening EC on Clinton Foundation released 12 pages of details of potential pay-to-play, and yet Washington field office only opened a preliminary investigation. Compare that to full investigation open on Trump based on Russians have dirt on Hillary. And for everyone complaining, oh, another letter? Grassley is spoon-feeding the DOJ and FBI evidence of obstruction. Hahn says, wow, this new release from Chuck Grassley on the Clinton Foundation is a staggering 91-page treasure trove. I just skimmed it, and it is all there. Uranium One, Russia, Boeing, Haiti, Hillary's brother, and all the other stuff. And the FBI did not even open a full investigation. Whereas with Trump, they had one false tip about a barroom gossip from 3 months earlier, and they immediately launched a full enterprise investigation. Absolute travesty that Comey struck Atkinson, who shows up here as well, and others have not been held accountable. Well, again, Trump is doing it a completely different way. Oh, wait, he's following the rule of law. They now have set up grand juries. They're looking through this evidence. The evidence is being supplied to the grand juries. And yes, we will see indictments for all of these people. Because think about it. Everything that they're saying they did to Trump, and they opened up a full investigation and they arrested people, how did that go? It didn't go too well, did it? Are they all in jail? Did they stop them? No, they didn't. Let's do it the right way. Let's get them and get them good. Let's have indictment after indictment after indictment come out. So this way their heads are spinning. We don't have to put on a show. We have to have accountability, and we must do it the right way. And I do believe that this is all part of Trump's plan. Showing the people the truth and having the people digest it, having the people understand it, and having the people see how this is all connected. And it is all connected. The Debriefing 17 put out something very, very interesting. And this is what he put out, or she, on X. Executive Order 13224 proves the purge is real. And it started with Trump. In 2017, Trump began laying the legal minefield. In 2019, he pulled the trigger, reissuing Executive Order 13224 under Executive Order 13886 and quietly upgrading it into a global financial kill switch. That one move gave the Treasury and the State Department unprecedented reach to freeze assets, blacklist networks, and designate not just terrorists, but cartel proxies, crypto laundromats, media manipulators, and corrupt NGOs as national security threats. Then came 2020, and while the world watched the election circus, the purge went underground. Under Biden's fake presidency, Executive Order 13224 never stopped. It just went silent. No press releases, no headlines. But if you tracked OFAC, JS, JSOC, and DEA footprints, you saw it working. What's happening now isn't chaos. It's the continuation of coordinated takedown launched under Trump and kept running by the real operators behind the curtain. From FTX to Tren de Agua, from Wagner-linked seizures to the Qatar-Israel bribery sting, every node on our map is evidence of ongoing Executive Order 13224 enforcement. Every click is proof that the deep state's financial tentacles are being severed, legally, tactically, and globally. The war never stopped. It just went off the books. And we just put it back on the map. Executive Order 13224 is the legal sword. This map is the battlefield. We were never crazy. We were early. Absolutely. Then the Debriefing 17 put this out. Imagine the U.S. government has 4 big legal kill switches sitting on a shelf. Each one was built at a different time, but a different president for a different reason. But they all work the same way. The president flips the switch by declaring a national emergency. And once it's flipped, the Treasury Department gets superpowers. What the superpowers actually are: freeze anyone's money, any foreign person anywhere in the world who fits the category. No trial, no warning. No Congress vote needed for each one. Block their property. House, bank accounts, crypto wallets, yachts, business frozen. You help them, your next rule. If you did business with someone on the list, your bank, your lawyer, your shipping company, your crypto exchange, you can get added to the list too. This is the cascade. One name becomes 10, 10 become 100, the secret list. There's a public list everyone sees, and a classified list nobody sees. We don't know how many names are on the secret one. The 4 switches. Switch number 1, terrorists, built 2001 after 9/11, upgraded to 2019. Originally for Al-Qaeda, the 2019 upgrade made it cover way more people, anyone who trains, leads, or supports a terror group, defined broadly. Switch number 2, corrupt people and human rights abusers, built in 2017. Cartels, kleptocrats, traffickers, dirty officials, anywhere on earth. Switch number 3, hackers and election meddlers, built 2015, upgraded 2016 and 2018. Russian troll farms, ransomware gangs, foreign election interference. Switch number 4, sketchy foreign tech built 2019. The one used to ban Huawei. Here's the part that matters. Every single one of these switches was flipped on and never flipped off. Not by the president who came after. Not by the next one. Every year, each president has to sign a piece of paper saying, yep, still an emergency, keep it running. Every president has signed every year for up to 25 years on the oldest one. That means the legal machinery to freeze assets, blacklist networks, and unravel criminal organizations worldwide has been quietly running in the background the entire time through Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump again. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. The machine keeps running. Why this matters for framework? When you see a giant crypto seizure, 15 billion from Shenzhen, or a cartel boss arrested, or a Russian oligarch's yacht impounded, or a crypto mixer shut down, that's not random. That's one of these 4 switches being used. The switches were built years before the enforcement wave started. The enforcement wave is just the switches being used the way they were designed to be used. The simple bottom line, the legal weapons were loaded over 20 years ago by presidents from both parties. Now they're being fired. The fact that they keep getting renewed no matter who's president is the strongest evidence that this isn't one administration's project. It's an institutional one that survives elections. That's what the 4-pillar table will show on one page. The weapons, who built them, when they were built, and the fact that nobody put them back on the shelf. And when you look at this, you could see that Trump is going to be using this against the deep state players. He's the one who's using all of it to go after them. And he's going to bring down the entire system. But the people must understand it. The people must understand what he's doing. They must see the network. They must see the criminals. They must see who the players are. This way, the people, in the end, demand justice. They demand accountability. And this is where all of this is headed. And this is why people are being educated in this country and across the world. Because in the end, when the indictments come out, when it shows who's been treasonous, when it shows these are the people that have been destroying this country, when it shows that these people are criminals, the people will understand it without a shadow of a doubt. And you can see every step of the way, this is what Trump is doing. Remember, this system is deep and wide. They've created a system that protects itself. Trump has to break through each wall of the protection, and he has to show the people. And that is what he's doing, while he's dismantling it at the same time. And in the end, when he has all the leverage and the control, and the deep state system is just nothing, he'll attack, and he'll attack hard, because he'll have the people behind him. He'll have the military behind him. He'll have the House and the Senate behind him. There's no escape from this. This is all part of the plan. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.